So, as an author who's learning the craft of writing as well as the business of marketing and promoting your work, as well as probably having a day job, maybe a family, hopefully some friends, time is at a premium for you. So how do you make the most of that? This was really driven home for me recently, where I had a week where my kids were home from school for an extra day, and so I split that with my wife, and the time that I did have for work was still interrupted. But even worse, my bank account got hacked and someone was trying to steal money from me, and I took the whole week multiple calls with the bank while someone was calling me trying to fish for more information. I spent that whole week resolving that. My stress levels were through the roof, my focus was shot, and I needed to find a routine that would help me the next week, as I felt like all of that stress, and my wife had been sick that week too. I felt like I might be catching what she had, and I thought, oh my goodness, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do videos? I was able to actually turn it around and have my most productive video week the week after that by changing 2 things in my routine. Now in this video, I don't promise those 2 things will magically work for you, but I will share the principles that make them work and how you can find the right routines to change your life and improve your focus so that you can get more done in less time with all that you're juggling. So if you're worried about time, productivity, and focus, stay tuned. I will help you fix your focus routine. All right, so what is the routine that worked for me? Well, the first thing I knew is if I wanted focus and to de-stress, the one thing that does both of those is meditation. Now, I am not new to meditation. I have done a book, I think it was like 8-minute meditation or something like that, that walks you through several different, 8 meditations for 8 minutes. So I started small and kind of did that inconsistently. It's something I do off and on. I have some other practices, some breath work that can be meditative depending on how I do it, or a spiritual practice of my own. But like pure meditation, I don't necessarily do every day, but I know that with that high level of stress and that inability to focus, the number one thing I needed was meditation. So I went back, there's a free online course from Palouse Mindfulness, I think it is. Anyway, I'll put the link in the description below. And that they have a great free course with free guided meditation. So I took one of their half-hour meditation and guided meditations and listened and meditated through that for half an hour in the morning right after sending my boys off to school, like packing their lunches and everything. I do that first thing, and that really helped me de-stress and focus and be ready for the day. Now, the second thing that I did was at lunch, I made sure to get outside and do a bike ride. I don't remember if I did this every day, but I often listen to music. This is to get me outside, get me moving a little bit, have fun, but this is for a break. You can't focus at the same level every day, so that provided a nice break for me, allowed me to get out of the house, to get moving, to enjoy music, kind of do something for myself, let my brain wander and not be focused, so that I could come back more focused for the afternoon, which I was able to do. And again, also that practice of exercise and doing something you love also, I think, helped me, maybe even more than the meditation, reduce stress, restore kind of a positive emotional baseline where I was more optimistic rather than stressed out and worried by default. So those are the 2 things that really helped me. However, they may not help you. So let me lay out some groundwork for how you can discover your own focus routines. Hey, quick interruption. So my mission is to fix the internet for sci-fi and fantasy creators and fan bases. I think there are reasons why it is so hard to build a following and support yourself. Mainly that like most websites aren't built for building communities and fan bases. They're built so large websites can advertise to your audience. And so that's just hugely broken and insane. It should not be as hard as it is to create a following and support yourself on creative work. Doesn't mean everyone's going to get there, but I would like more people to be able to support themselves with their creative work. That's my mission. This channel is just the beginning of that. I want to build better websites and tools. If you like and subscribe, you can help me build the channel and more quickly get to a place where I can build you tools that will make this whole business of writing thing easier. So please, like and subscribe, share. That's great. That too, yes, please. Or tell me, if this video is not good enough to earn your like and subscribe, tell me below in the comments what I could give you that would be more valuable. Thanks. Now, if you're a creative type of person, you might be thinking, I would love more focus, but I loathe routine. Typically this is hard for creatives. Routine is hard for creatives, partially because they don't love it for its own sake, partly because they need everything to have a purpose. Maybe as a creative, you're thinking, I'm just not disciplined enough to do it. Those are all reasons why often creative types have a hard time getting into good habits. No worries. I share many of those traits. I like novelty. I don't like routine. I don't like doing things that feel like busy work. And I used to tell myself all the time that I don't have the discipline to stick with a habit. I have changed that story because I found out that really the majority of developing a good habit isn't discipline. Like maybe the smallest smidgen of discipline to think about what habit you want to try experimenting and doing that for a very little time each day, but you actually don't need a lot of discipline to develop good habits with the method that I am going to show you. So finally, what is this routine that is going to help you, or this framework that is going to help you master habits as someone who's creative and has a hard time with consistency? Well, I'm 100% with you on that. When I was in college, I felt like I should be more organized, so I didn't end up doing my work at the last minute, as I inevitably did. And so I decided to design my own planners and, design the cover art, the page layout, take it down, the files down to the campus print shop to be printed and bound. And I loved having this little book. And I stuck with it for maybe a month, and then told myself that I was terrible about organization, or not serious about it, or not good at planning, because I couldn't stick with it. When really, I was going about it the wrong way for someone who is creative, for someone who likes novelty, who relies more on doing things that are meaningful rather than doing discipline to do something regardless of whether it's meaningful. And so what I have evolved for myself, and what I have used with high-paying clients as a business coach, this framework that you can get now for free, all right, is this. One, reduce the amount of discipline you need by testing new habits in smaller doses. So even as someone who's done meditation, I didn't actually just dive into 30 minutes. I knew that I had to step it up a lot for that week to recover my focus. But I have experimented a lot with meditation in the past, and the week prior, when I started, towards the end of the week, I started realizing my attention is shredded. I need to do meditation. So I just did it for a minute at a time, in between, as a break, sometimes in between activities, just dipping my toes back into it, starting up with that, because it does require some discipline. And in some ways, it's easier to go from a minute to 30, although you could step that up slowly. I recommend doing that, especially if you're early on in a habit. It takes some, in some ways, I think it takes more discipline to stop and do the 1 minute than it does to move from 1 to 30. So make it lower the difficulty level of the new habit. And the other thing that I think is important with this first part of scaling it down to time, scale it to a short space of time at a specific time. If you don't know when you're going to do it, chances are you won't. It doesn't have anything to do with discipline, and it has everything to do with just your brain remembering when to do what activities. And so you want to train your brain, all right, either this time o'clock in the afternoon or at this transition between activities, I'm going to do this 1 to 5 minute habits. And so even if you don't think you're good at habits, can you do at least 1 minute at a particular time throughout your day? Probably. Go for it. All right. So the second piece of this allows you to capture more novelty and is really helpful for creative types who don't naturally gravitate towards routine and doing the same thing. My advice, try at least one new habit every week. And especially if you're starting out, just focus on one new habit that you're testing a week. And so when I started out, I was super allergic in an apartment in Japan that had mold. I could barely breathe in some rooms. And so I was on medication, but I wanted to figure out how to adjust or adapt so that I didn't have to like be constantly on medication just to like survive in the apartment. And so what I did is I went online and tried all sorts of things, brushing my teeth more, drinking more water, and yoga. And it turned out that yoga gave me a couple-hour window actually where my nose would run while I was doing yoga. It would help flush things out, but then for a couple hours after that, I wouldn't struggle so much with allergies, and that was fantastic. But did I stop there? No, I kept experimenting with things well, I'm still doing it every week, trying to look for at least one thing I can tweak, usually several, one thing in each different area of my life. But I found eventually that there are breathing exercises that if I did a good job doing the breathing exercises, I would be more alert and less allergic the entire day, not just for a couple hours. It was like a hyper-compressed, super effective version of yoga, just focused on the circulatory system, which apparently is like my weak spot, my Achilles heel. So that really worked for me because I kept experimenting. And so plus, that trying something new every week helps me to engage in habits in a way where I'm constantly having some novelty. And so even habits that work for me, like exercise, I will often rotate. So I'll do something for a while and then swap it out and try a different exercise. And sometimes I do that within the week, where today I'm feeling a little bit under the weather again. And so and my typical intense VR boxing workout or like muscle workout with like push-ups and pull-ups and squats and whatnot, that was actually doing more harm than good, I think, to me the end of last week. So I did some yoga and that felt a lot better, right? So switching it up is the trying a new thing out every week gives you an opportunity to have that novelty that you crave, but kind of a framework, a consistency of trying something every week. So that is, for me, the perfect marriage of novelty. Maybe you find that like it's a couple of weeks or something like that, or maybe you want a shotgun trying a new thing every day for the week. I don't know. You can experiment with that interval, but like the weekly cadence I find really helpful for me. And then the last thing is drop your habit like a hot potato if it doesn't work for you after a week. Sometimes they say it takes 3 weeks at least, or a month or whatever, to form a new habit. You don't have to form a new habit. You just need to know whether it works for you. And in my experience, the most effective habits are ones where you can tell a difference after like 2 to 3 days. And so if it's something you don't like doing and it's not yielding results after a week, don't stick with it. Try something new. That will allow you to try more habits in a short space of time to find the ones that really work for you, rather than just sticking with the first thing that came to mind, whether it worked or not. And again, this is really helpful. You will have to rely on discipline so much less when you're working with habits, not just that you intellectually think are good for you, but that you've actually vetted, you see visible or tangible results from the outcome, and that you enjoy doing. The task will become meaningful for you, and it will be so much easier to do. There will still be days where you're tired or your schedule's thrown off, where still requires a little bit of discipline to keep on track, but it won't require nearly as much. So you're not as likely to burn out if you're someone driven by meaning and novelty rather than discipline. So again, the steps: pick something. I've already kind of talked about if you want focus, you want to do something that trains your focus, bringing your mind back to a specific focus, and you want periods of quality recuperation, getting away from screens, hopefully out of the house, moving, etc. So those are a number of those are big domains. You can pick a number of habits from them, but pick one to try out this week. Keep it short. 5 minutes is great. If you're just trying to start, experiment with 1 minute. I find 5 to 10 minutes is typically enough to see some result if it's a particularly effective habit, if it's going to be really helpful for me. But if I have to do 1 minute, that's enough to kind of at least give me a sense of, is this something I can do? Do I like this? And then, if I have to start at 1 minute and I like doing it, I enjoy the experience enough and want to continue, then I can step it up to 5 to 10 minutes the next week if that's where I need to start. If you can start at 5 to 10 minutes, great, but don't push for half an hour on a habit you haven't tried before and you don't know you already enjoy and see results from. So, time box it and give yourself a short amount of time so it doesn't require much discipline, but do make sure you set a specific time to do that 1 minute or that 5 minutes. Don't just save it for whenever since it's such a short time. And then 2, try a new one every week. Rotate. Don't just do this once, but rotate through things to find what works best for you or what works best for you under current circumstances, because as your circumstances will change, you will find different habits hit you in different ways. And then the third thing is drop the ones that don't work for you. Evaluate the habit after a week. And you will find either you just hated doing it and skipped it, in which case, if you don't want to do it, don't commit to doing it the next week. Isn't that freeing? You might find that you nailed the nail on the head. You hit it, whatever. That you got a home run with this one. You both like doing it and you see tangible results and you want to keep doing it at the level you're doing 5 to 10 minutes, or you want to increase it. You might find that. But there's also a third outcome that you might find, which is you do like it for different reasons than you thought. For me, a great example of this would be cold showers. So something that often goes with the breathing exercises is the cold showers. And while stepping in a cold shower does wake me up and does help me clear my sinuses a little bit, I find the effect is actually really pretty limited. And there are different reasons for that. In Austin, it's hard to get the shower cold enough, even during the winter. But it only gets down to lukewarm during the summer. And so, there may be some of that. It's hardly an ice bath. But then also I might not have the right biology for that. The breathing exercises for the Wim Hof method go great for me. The whole ice shower bath doesn't do it for me in terms of those promises, but I find it does 2 things. One, I don't have to wait for the shower. So it saves me time in the morning rather than taking time, which I'll take it. That's also why I don't shave every day. But in addition to giving me time back, which is a great habit, it's also one of those things that reminds me I have some discipline. If I have enough discipline to get in a cold shower, I can't get too down on myself for not releasing a video every day because I was struggling with longer videos last week. I can always be like, no, I take cold showers. I'm actively implementing new habits every week. I just need to figure out how releasing a video every day is going to work for me. I just need to tweak those habits, right? And so saving that time and then having that thing I can point to every day to say yeah, I do have some discipline. That's been helpful. So there you go. That is my method specifically for developing focus habits, but also you could use them with exercise. You could use them with all sorts of habits. You could use them for writing thank you notes to people. You could do the same thing, start small, do it once a day at a particular time, try out a different form of gratitude each week, or try a different form of connecting with people each week, then drop it if it doesn't, after a week you just didn't like a particular method or you found yourself skipping it. So, and then try something else. So this framework can be used for forming habits for creative types, even if you don't like routine. even if you find doing the same thing over and over again boring and demotivating. Let me know in the comments down below if you are having trouble with habits, and I will be happy to answer your questions or give you suggestions for specific activities that you might try. See you next time on the Ubiquitous Tavern.